Today, I wanted to talk about how to use drawing books. I don't have a drawing book here with me. I mean, I have them um, in my room, but I kind of made a test image just to kind of go on the example. The reason why I did that is because I'm pretty sure I would get flagged for like copyright if I would include any PDF or whatnot. I mean, not even accounting like I don't own any PDFs, like digital copies of books. But basically, the important thing to remember is that one, you need time to digest the content. Two, not every book is going to lay out all of the instructions for you, which is a bit annoying. More often than not, I feel like a lot of books kind of want you to kind of know how to already draw, and they may not be the best thing to do, but down the line, someone will probably recommend you a book on something. The worst thing you can do is think of it as a passive venture. Like, you have to make time to read the blah 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 stuff, but sometimes you'll see images, and I honestly think that one of the best things to do is try to apply the concepts either in your own or first trying to like mimic the examples and then trying to do it in your own. I mean, it's not always recommended to draw from a drawing. Um, Many books will actually kind of warn you not to do that because if you do that, it may look more flat. You may not get uh, you may not get like the point, which more often than not is to like explain an example, or it may just be a hint for you to look for this when you're working in your own. So like it may show a box, but like this isn't the end all to be all ways to draw a box. I mean, they're a rectangle, but look, there's a million ways to skin a cat, and you have to find the one that's most comfortable for you. Um, but the point is, don't do it all in once. Try to practice the examples. Sometimes you may want to try that even though there may not be clear instructions, or it could be that you're reading a bad book. um, sometimes books may not be the most straightforward, and you kind of have to be your own judge there. The other thing is make sure you're referencing your book. Now, I can't show you, but I mean, because I don't have like a camera on me. I mean, I'll have to share it eventually, but I got a book holder and a light for it. So basically, to the left of my drawing tablet, there's a book book holder holding a book open. There's like a light that I could use to pretty much add more brightness to the page. And the whole point of that is so that I can actively like read, and if I need to take a break to try to draw some of the examples, well, I can do that. And like that's really the way to go. In the past, when I would read books, I would kind of make it too. It would be too passive. It wouldn't be active. So I would just be reading it, then putting it down, then trying some stuff out. And I think I may have did myself a disservice. I think if I would have had it open to the left of me, and I would have been trying to copy all of the examples I saw in the book, and trying to rework it in my own way, I think that would have been the more efficient way to go about it. Um, I feel I can't get this line. I should really rotate my page, but I'm not doing that. But I really feel that as you go through books, another thing is you may feel like you're reading the same thing again and again and again, and obviously you want to be learning new things, but if you do run into that case, there's a good chance that you reach what I would call like the saturation point of information. When I was in university and I had to write papers, I kind of talked to my professor about this, kind of wondering why, hey, I feel like I've read the same thing set like 7 times in like different ways. And they were like, that's great. And I'm like, no, it's not. this is awful. And basically, the thing I didn't understand was I was hitting the saturation point of information. Um, and basically, it's kind of showing that I had an understanding of the material, as ridiculous as it seems. But, like, the point I'm trying to say here is if you do run into that with drawing, I would say you're probably good to turn whatever that was into a practice session that you may do once in a blue moon, but you have the concepts in your head. I mean, that doesn't mean you're going to have the hand-eye coordination executed on paper, but you're a little bit more close to having an understanding, which I think is extremely important. Now, I feel like whatever you read, drawing, you need to like draw it like 3 times or 10 times more just to like really get it. Um, Muscle memory is just, you know, drawing and getting that, putting in your dues in drawing is just something that like you have to actively do the drawing. And I feel like you have to do the reading, but the important thing is to do the drawing, because in this case we're talking about drawing books. I feel like for the most part, you may be better off going to a library, or I wouldn't say that. I would say sometimes you may be better off like even trying to go to like a thrift store. Maybe that's not a good example. Maybe like Amazon. Certain books are pretty cheap and they contain really good information. If I would say anyone, maybe like Loomis, Andrew Loomis, you could find his books reprinted. They're relatively cheap. And I think that going through those books could be like, you know, they're not too expensive. You can go through them, and it's kind of better than a library because, like, with library books, you have to return them. And I feel like that can maybe cause a little bit of unnecessary stress. I mean, unless you feel comfortable going to a library and going back to it. Me personally, I tend to look at books as like something to complete, and I feel like it's kind of like a reward when you finish it, which is weird, but like, you know, if you do read a book and you find it really helpful and maybe you have a friend that draws, you could even give it to that friend if you want to. I'm not saying you have to, but I feel like, or you may want to keep it for yourself as a reference point. That could be a good thing to do. But sometimes you may get a book and it may be too advanced. And I think at that point, I think you may want to keep the book and maybe come back to it after you gain some more experience. I think books can teach you a lot, but trying to find a person that can help steer you in the right direction could be a good thing. Because sometimes I'd say the bad things about books are that you may not always get you won't be able to get feedback. Like, books can't talk to you, i.e. why I was calling it a passive experience. Like, books are like a one-way communication. They can't tell you if you're applying the concepts right, and you usually need a human to help you with that. I mean, you know, until AI could eventually do that job for you, which I wouldn't be surprised is just around the corner. In that case, hey, that's pretty great. Maybe you're better off feeding a PDF version of a book to the AI to help steer you in the right direction. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the future that we're heading towards. I think it's a good thing. It could be cool, you know, as long as we're not heading towards the Terminator Skynet universe. But yeah, have hope. The other thing about books is sometimes you may run into books that seem to not have a clear purpose. They may be like a reference book. I have a reference book on insects. And I think the other thing is being critical of books. So I have a lot of entomology books. I like insects and arachnids and pseudo-arachnids, or everything in between. There are a lot of Bugs are always a really interesting thing. But some of the concerns I always have about it is a lot of the images of bugs. One, they're drawings, so you always have to kind of be hesitant to draw from a drawing. But I do believe that they could offer certain good concepts. The other thing is preventing flatness and stiffness. So another insult is a lot of older illustrations of drawings, they show. Okay, let me give a better example. Dutch paintings of still life may sometimes feature insects, but more often than not, they're just insects being insects, and I feel like they have more action to them than that. They're not these static things, and possibly a lot of these people may have been drawing from the same insect plates, or they may have been drawing from drawings, which is something to be hesitant of. Because when I say plate, it's kind of just like a top-down view of a bug, and in general, the reason why etymology things are like that is because the people who drew them from dead bugs. And I know that sounds weird, but if you ever heard of insect pinning, I find it kind of cruel unless there's some like deeper scientific purpose to it. It basically involves like, I'll draw a little pin. It involves like taking a pin and let me think. I'm just gonna draw a butterfly, or try to draw one, and it's gonna be really bad. Just know that like this is an example. And butterflies, I believe they have like 3 sections. If I'm not wrong, they definitely have 3 sections. You know, they're kind of like that. More often than not, they have like a wingspan like that. I'm pretty sure it all connects to the middle piece here. This kind of looks more like a moth, but oh well. I don't know why I keep thinking that. I'm not drawing from reference, so that's a bad thing, but I'm just trying to give an example here. This is a butterfly or a moth or whatever you want it to. And in general, what they would do, if you look at it, it's kind of like in a top-down view, which that's our first thing. Now, if you divide, I believe that's the abdomen, or am I thinking thorax? Damn it. Just know that they divide the middle section into 2. Well, they don't, but I mean, they think of it as 2. Then they try to pick either the left side or the right side to place the pin in, while the insect is usually still alive. Or they try to, I don't want to get into the cruelty of it, but in general, they pick a side that they think will cause less damage to the preservation of the butterfly, and then they stick the pin through it, and basically, yeah, a pin. It's going to be a pin for life. When I say life, I mean death. It's going to get killed, but it'll be preserved with its wingspan out, which is good for presentation purposes. I'd say there's probably a lot of merit and an importance to why people did this. Probably to study the butterfly for scientific purposes, and not just to torture the thing and put it and keep it in a collection, or maybe that too. But but the point is they would draw it in this view, and kind of the problem with that view is that it's static. 1, 2, it's always top down. Not saying there's something always wrong with drawing an insect top down, but they're very like trying to think of like other perspectives of and drawing from other perspectives can be very beneficial. And I'm not saying all artists did this. I'm just saying that like things that I've seen, I mean, I have seen other illustrations of it being much better, and paintings and whatnot. But the point is, I think that everyone kind of got stuck in the top-down view of drawing basically dead bugs. There's definitely benefits to doing that, but I feel like it would be the same as if you're drawing from dead humans. And not to say that that's a bad thing. Maybe you do want to do that. I would say there's definitely a merit to doing that in the art world. But you lose like the animation of the thing when you do that. So the purpose is don't get stuck in one way of thinking, but instead use it to help teach you and give you a better understanding of the full picture, if that makes sense. I may revisit this topic in the future because this may not just extend to books, this may also extend to YouTube videos or maybe on web articles or any good information you can get. Sometimes you may be able to find books on referencing different bugs or whatever you want to reference, and you could draw from that. It may not be called a drawing book, but you definitely can go out and look for that. So yeah, always, yeah, I hope those tips help you. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. If you have a question, please leave it in the comments. But yeah, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Bye.